Handheld gaming being the way I spend most of my gaming these days, it wasn't long before I had to get my hands on a Steam Deck. And wow, what an absolute beast this thing is. Kick off your shoes and relax your socks while I give you my first impressions of owning a Steam Deck. One of the first things I noticed when I got my hands on my Steam Deck was that although yes, this thing is big, they're not that noticeably big. I remember when we first started seeing reviews getting their hands on Steam Decks, we started seeing them compared to the sizes of other devices, but even compared to the size of bananas. One thing that stood out was everybody was going on about how big this Steam Deck actually is, and it was something that honestly kind of put me off. I am a huge handheld gamer, it's the way I spend most of my gaming these days, and a lot of the times I am sat on the couch playing a handheld console, so size isn't too much of an issue for me. However, the Steam Deck did look like it was beyond the limits of what was going to be comfortable. The second I finally got a Steam Deck in my hands, my impressions completely changed. This thing is big, but it's perfectly big. It feels like you're holding a highly ergonomic controller that has an absolutely gorgeous screen in the middle of it. All the buttons are just in the right places, the screen is the right size to completely engross you in the games, and it doesn't feel too heavy that it's going to be tiring to play long game sessions on. On top of that, all the controls just feel perfectly designed. The analog triggers are really nice to press and give a nice amount of resistance. The analog sticks just feel in a comfortably natural place, and again they have the right amount of movement you would expect from an analog stick. But what really impressed me was the trackpads. The Steam Deck being able to handle a whole host of PC games could have been an issue when it came to controls, but even games that are mouse heavy and require a lot of clicking about like strategy games or point and click adventures just feel naturally at home on the Steam Deck thanks to the trackpads and the integration of the overall control system. I will say I've had more fun playing Civilization on the Steam Deck than I have had in a long time. Not only now that I actually find the time to sit down and play Civilization instead of trying to sit at a PC to play it, but also in how natural and comfortable the controls feel. Another area of great ease and comfort as well is the Steam OS, designed in a very clever way, giving you quick access to your existing Steam library, enabling you to purchase any new games you want, even if they're not Steam Deck verified, and also giving you a whole list of options to improve the efficiency and the comfort of playing on a Steam Deck. Although Steam Deck OS is incredibly well designed and comfortable to use, it's not perfect. There are some areas I would improve. Specifically, I feel like maybe there's one or two menus too many. Maybe some of them could be combined together to give a bit more of a streamlined experience. And whereas looking through your Steam library or shopping for a new game is a very comfortable and easy experience, sometimes trying to find where some of the few extra options are on the system can be a little bit tricky and might be hidden behind some menus. Furthermore, switching the Steam Deck over to desktop mode, although it's a fantastic thing that it can do, does start to feel a little bit clunky once you are in Linux. Now naturally, Linux isn't as second nature as Windows is for most users, which means that if you don't have some prior experience with Linux, you will find a slightly steep learning curve trying to use desktop mode. On top of that, some of the slick context sensitive reactions in the UI that we have in SteamOS don't make the transition over to desktop mode. For example, trying to bring up the keyboard can be a little bit finicky. In SteamOS mode, whenever you need it, it will just pop up without you needing to do anything, whereas in desktop mode you will have to do a button press to actually pop it up. But where the desktop mode does fall down a little bit in terms of trickiness in the UI, it more than makes up for it with the extra features that you're able to access and it can provide to the Steam Deck itself. Being able to access desktop mode enables you to turn the Steam Deck into one of the best retro emulation devices I have ever used. Once you get everything set up and installed, for which there are plenty of instructions available online, and I will put some links in the description below if I don't make a video about it myself. But once you've gone through the process of adding in the emulators, you get absolutely buttery smooth emulation all the way up to PlayStation 2 and GameCube generations. Honestly, moving from something like an AYN Odin where it provides great emulation for GameCube and PlayStation 2, but you have to do some tinkering around with settings, moving from something like that to the Steam Deck where it just works flawlessly right from the outset is an absolutely glorious thing. On top of that, the Steam Deck is even able to provide emulation for later generations, including the Wii, PlayStation 3, and even some Switch games. And what's even better is that all these games feel amazing to play thanks massively to the brilliant ergonomic design of the Steam Deck itself. Playing games like Need for Speed Underground 2 feel as good as they did on the PlayStation 2, if not better. And that's honestly one of the things that impressed me the most about the Steam Deck. It's the performance, not just the performance as an emulator, but the performance as a AAA gaming system. For the price of the Steam Steam Deck, it lives in this world that's hard to believe. It provides performance of consoles that are nearly £1,000, but sits in the price range of a bit more of a high-end retro handheld emulator. Honestly, the value for money of the Steam Deck just blows my mind. Being able to access all these amazing Steam games, a world which is so huge and vast, full of AAA games, indie games, and some of the most obscure games you're ever going to come across, as well as living alongside being one of the best retro handheld emulators I've ever seen, makes the Steam Deck, without doubt, one of my favourite, if not my favourite console of the last decade. And what's even better is that for someone like me, a dad who hardly has any time, it's perfect that all of this is packaged in the palm of your hands, meaning that anytime I get a spare minute, I can just grab a Steam Deck and get into some good old gaming that I've not been able to do for ages. Now, if you want to know exactly what I do get stuck into when I get my free time, then check out some of my favourite Steam Deck games right here.